A very warm welcome to all of you today. Today we are almost on the fag end of our program, and today's workshop is very interesting and is being presented by the Pratham Group. Pratham Group is known to all people because it works in the grassroots for care for children and mothers. Uh, our today's workshop being conducted by Pratham is being done by two gentlemen, Mr. Smitin Brid, who is the director of Pratham Early Childhood Education Programs. And what do I say about Smitin? He has been the director of Pratham's early childhood education programs for over and has over 24 years of extensive experience in the education sector. His key work is included in program design, development of content, and training frameworks for a broad range of early childhood interventions, and with a specific focus on mothers' engagement in the learning of their young children. Smithin has led Pratham teams in the state of Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh. I think only Bihar is missing from this to name it the Bimaru states. But Smithin, a very warm welcome to you for the session. Uh, may I request Rinky to add Smithin to stage so our audience can see him? Our next speaker today is Mr. Sarthak Goyal. Sarthak is a manager in the strategic partnership team at Pratham and supports Pratham's early years programs, including direct programs, government partnership programs, research studies, and special central projects. Prior to Pratham, he worked as a consultant at Dalberg Advisors, where he worked across the field of education, financial inclusion, agriculture, and climate. And prior to that, he was an analyst at Bain and Company. So that's a consultancy company. So he comes with a varied experience in a different field, and he's done his BCom honors from Sri Ram College, Delhi. And what is this workshop about today? This workshop is aims to develop an approach to identifying skills that are important for the mothers to effectively facilitate their children's education. You know, if Indian mothers are known as tiger moms, it would not be wrong, just like anybody else. And I think it's very important to not only for the mothers to have the will, but also the skill creating the improvement in the education for children. I'm not going to take away any time from the experts, and I am raring to hear all Pratham has to share because their workshop is brought in from the work they have done in the grassroots. So, handing it over to you, Smithan and Sarthak, and I'll be going off stage, and the stage is all yours. And a very warm welcome to both of you.
Thank you very much, Swati, for this lovely introduction and you know beginning of this workshop. I hope my voice is clear and I can be seen by the participants. Okay.
You
I'm
can.
not, yeah, and I'm not sure whether all participants are able to, respond to our questions. But before can we just remove the screen or whatever this?
Rinky, can I request you? Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
absolutely. Thank you very much, Rinki. We really want to start with the question, and we hope that you will answer it in the chat room. Um, we really want to understand whom we are talking to. Like for example, uh, where are you from, and what do you do? So if you can just quickly let us know. Uh, we can see your names, but if you can tell us who you are, like are you a teacher, are you a practitioner, are you a writer, so that it's very clear to us that we are talking to certain people with certain experience. So maybe Sarthak, you want to take this further and show some slides and
Yeah,
facilitate the
sure.
opening. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so just as Smithin said to start off, if we would love to get to know all of you a little better. to just see the context that everyone here who's attending is coming from. And we'd love to take that forward into the rest of the session. So you could just post on the chat just where you're based and what is your profession.
Just given my example, I don't know whether you can see that. Since we are using this new platform, Town Hall, um, can you all see and respond to the question, please? Okay. Yeah. So this is my answer so that you also know. Although Swati has given a lovely introduction, but I call myself as a practitioner. Yes, we can see that Gagandip Kaur is a teacher. Sonal Sikri is from Gurgaon, an educator. Swati Bhatt, director preschool and daycare owner. Kashish, Delhi educator. Swati is from again AECD, EC member. Okay, great.
Great. So a lot of
Yeah,
ECE teachers and practitioners in an audience today.
yeah, and it is going to be an interesting exercise because generally we talk to the practitioners who work with the lower strata, lower income group, especially from the Anganwadi centers and government schools, etc. So we get a chance to closely work with those community and those people. Uh, I think in today's conversation, we can see there are many people who are coming from the private sector. So it's going to be an interesting exercise, an exchange program for both of us. Like we can also exchange, we can also share many things that those are relevant to how we engage parents, especially mothers. And I'm going to talk and discuss about why we are focusing on mothers. We have always been like suggested by many people from academia, research, and many others that why we don't focus on general parents and why we only insist engaging mothers. So we'll talk about it later shortly. Before we proceed further, yes, there are more answers. Thank you, Sarthak, and many people. Can we move to the next question, please? Sorry, we are starting with some questions so that we can understand you better and then start the session accordingly. Yes. Next and the last question, by the way, for this beginning. Um, Sarthak, can you move to this next slide?
Yeah.
Great. There is somebody from Nagpur also. Very good.
Can you see the
No, we can't see the next question. I don't know whether every others can see. It's a still it's a first question.
oh,
Okay, I can describe. I can say it while Sarthak is opening the second slide. We really want to understand. You might have come with some, and after listening to Swati's opening, I think you might have expected something. So here is the question. I think, what do you expect to learn from today's session? This session, can you please write in one sentence? Okay. The question is, what do you expect from us now? Us in the sense, this session. Yes. Rinki is also putting it into the chat. Okay. Great. Gagandeep is saying I have the will and the skill. How to imply it? Very good. Thanks for the point. Okay, Swati is saying that what are the key skills identified and uh, have they helped in improving? Absolutely.
Improving.
Yeah. Yes. Few more points. We'll wait for a minute. Okay.
How to build the gap created due to the pandemic? A very important
Absolutely.
question.
That's a very important question. Yes, Sangeeta. In fact, we should reflect on this, that whether the pandemic has created a gap or given us the opportunity to work with the parents more closely. So we'll have to discuss that further. Yeah, that's a great point. Okay, while others are like writing, typing, thinking, maybe. Yeah, one more point from Rajni is looking forward to unlearn and learn something new. That's a great point. Thank you, Rajni. Uh, okay, so here is what how I would like to proceed. If we go to the next slide, there is a statement that we at Pratham believes a lot, and you may comment on it. And somebody has already put its agreement. Sonal Sikri has already uh, has said that it's absolutely agreeable. We believe that it takes an entire village, right? That means whole community, to raise and educate a child. So, what do you all think about it? I think it will be dependent on uh, the next few points, and the discussion points will be dependent on your views on this statement. So, yes, okay, okay. So it takes an entire village, or rather called community, to educate and raise a child.
I mean, interesting considering there are a lot of teachers here. I
Yeah,
mean, would love to hear the all
what do
teachers'
you all
views
think?
on, is the responsibility of schools and teachers? What do you think parental and how should parental involvement
Yeah,
be there in education, particularly for early years? I think would love to hear.
yeah. In fact, teachers should ask a question themselves. I'm being teacher. I'm asking this for so long, that who is responsible for educating the children? Are we as teachers are the only stakeholders those are responsible for raising children and bringing them, educating them? Or do you all think that, yes, Archana is saying there are everyone is responsible? Can you elaborate, Archana? Who are these everyone? Like some characters? Can we, like, if somebody want to speak, can we bring people on screen? I don't know. I'm not sure whether Rinky can bring one or two participants to respond to that. Maybe while she's
Which,
doing it, Swati, you can
whom
also.
would you want? No, who would you like to call on stage?
Okay, Archana has said that everyone is responsible. I would like to know from her that, who are these everyone? Yeah,
I
Archana
can
Jain.
request Archana Jain, ma'am. Can I get you on stage? She is an
Yeah,
EC member of AECT and the head of the Department of SVT College
excellent.
in Human. So we'll request Archana ma'am to come on stage.
Yeah. And while she's
Great.
coming, I think there are two responses that Sangeeta has said: parents, teachers, siblings, relatives. Absolutely right. All significant people, Archana is saying education is not just an academics. Absolutely. Great. Archana ma'am, you want to speak? Come on board and
I
speak.
I think we can choose somebody else because ma'am is
Okay,
already
no
Aya?
problem. No problem. Sangeeta Gire,
Archana, sorry, ma'am. Archana Jana has come on stage. Sorry.
oh, great, great,
I thought
great.
amazing. Yeah. Ma'am, you're on stage.
Yeah, I'm on stage. I just I was in a hurry to get the session started, so I like jumped the question and I just answered it because I'm so keen on listening to what you have to say. So I didn't have the patience.
Yeah. No, it happens. It
Uh,
happens.
yeah,
Mhm.
so I'm assuming that from the birth, like from the grandmother to everyone, okay, anyone the child interacts, the child is going to learn.
Yeah,
Even the crow on the window is
the
teaching
tree.
something.
Absolutely.
So
So
that's my take on it.
that's the key. I think yes, Archana ji, you're right. And unfortunately, while working with the teachers on large scale and especially with the government systems, we have realized that teachers think that we are the only stakeholders, or we are only people who can teach and who can help children learn. Now again, this is also a debatable matter, teaching versus learning, but I'm not going to open all the topics for debate. But yes, as you said rightly, and people others in the comment have also uh, agreed that there are relatives, parents, neighbors rather, okay, teachers, siblings, everyone is like uh, they play an important role in raising children, in educating children. So, with this strong belief in Pratham, we have always worked inside the school or inside the class with teacher and children, but also have engaged community, parents, many stakeholders that you are mentioning. Um, Despite of having challenges of engaging them into a process, we could successfully build a network of parents and other stakeholders in the community to raise and educate a child. So how we have done it, we'll briefly tell you, and then we'll come back to one more round of discussion. Can we just move ahead? Before I like proceed further, I know Swati and Archana ma'am already said that everybody knows Pratham, but still I would like to, in a minute, would like to describe. Pratham is a citizens-led organization initiative started in 1994-5. It started in Mumbai because we, as a citizen of Mumbai, believed that uh, if we want to change the landscape of education or change the status of education, we would like to support. So, therefore, we started working and supporting communities, schools. We were from the municipal schools, so we started supporting our schools, teachers to change the education environment. And in those days, 20, 30 years, 20, 25 years ago, the challenge was access. And uh, I can easily tell you from Mumbai's experience that uh, around 60% children could have access to school, but more than 40% children could not have access to school in 1994. And I'm talking about Mumbai. So you can imagine what might be situation across um rural areas of India. So, but today, after 25 years, I think the one of the biggest issue or challenge that India was facing of providing or making sure that every child has access to school, primary school, grade 1 to 5, 1 to 8, has already achieved. Like, so that's the, if I have to start with the positive change in last 22 decades, um, I think we have achieved 100% enrollment. Although there are certain, other data also recognizes, many other data says that more than 95% children have access to school. Attendance is a still issue. Learning is still issue. So there are certain areas where we need to work upon, and and therefore we asked this question in the beginning that if you have to make sure that every child is in school and learning well, I think in school, child is in school has almost achieved, because I'm saying almost because there are certain percentage of children who are hardcore and from the very vulnerable category, especially from the urban and rural poor. Those still have some issues with uh, you know access to education. But having said this, uh, large proportion of children have got access to the primary education, and that has changed because of many movements, many organizations efforts, pressure groups, and mainly because of Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, the government's initiative, central government and state government's initiative to make sure that every hamlet, every corner of the country has school. So deploying that infrastructure has, like, we have achieved in last 2 decades. uh, yes, it's a matter of pride and celebration, but there are certain crises that have we have already talked about, and you all know that many children, after attending even primary grades, are unable to do simple arithmetic. They are unable to read and comprehend. So these are like, it remains a challenge. So if we have to reflect upon, now we are all ECD practitioners, EC practitioners. Therefore, we need to understand this, schooling and the challenges of schools and education and overall learning. So we realize that within Pratham there are many groups who talks about different areas. So there is one large proportion in Pratham was focusing on catch up and remedial for, let's say, grade 3 to 8 children. um, but we, as ECD practitioner within Pratham family, were very sure that if we build a strong foundation before the children go to formal schooling, and we can make sure that if child is ready for schooling and learning, then there will be no need of remedial or remedy later on. This is what, like, we came with uh, the thought. And then slowly we started putting. So since inception we were focusing on early childhood education. We believe that building strong foundation is crucial for lifelong learning, and therefore we were working with children directly in classes, like what you all are doing, uh, you know organizing preschools and working with them. We have lots of targets, age and stage wise targets to achieve overall development of children, and make sure that children are ready for learning and schooling. So by the time children become 6, we have set goals that if they are ready with this certain skills, and we all know that what is the meaning of overall development, holistic development, and school readiness. So we were working with that, but we have always realized that merely working inside the class for 3 hours with children is not going to help, and therefore we started engaging parents. Mostly in last 10 years we have been like focusing on, we tried variety of things of engaging parents. Now I'm coming to the point that what we are trying different in a different ways and what is working. Hello Nandita, great you're listening to me. uh, I think we have tried, I'll tell you three different approaches that we have tried in our program. We also conducted research and RCTs for making sure and seeing the effectiveness of, to see the impact and effectiveness of what we are doing is correct, or what kind of modifications are required. So here is what we learned in last I would say 10 years. And pandemic has, like, given us the anyway, I'll come to that later. So we initially started calling parents inside the class, typically like what we everyone do. We started conducting parents meeting, and we very soon we realized that people come, a gathering uh, happens, but there is less connection with the individuals with this teacher, because And I've always seen, like, I've attended more than 1,000 parents meeting across different preschool types. This is my common observation that, the agenda is absenteeism. Teacher is talking about absent children, but most of the time the parents who are sitting in the class, in the parents meeting, are those who send their children regularly, so they feel very disconnected with the agenda point. So that large group setting was not working. Then we started exploring and talking to, with our instructors. The preschool instructors started visiting homes, individual visits, and started exploring, talking to parents, giving them inputs, through these home visits. uh, it was effective, and we could see, and we have always seen the impact in the assessment process. We have seen the impact on children's outcomes, plus parental perspectives and knowledge and know-how. But having said that, I think while we were replicating on large scale and scaling it up to the certain level, we realized that, this instructor visiting 20 to 30 households regularly has certain limitations of, practicality. So then what we started working on, and especially we did a RCT in Odisha, where we formed groups of mothers in the hamlets, like a neighborhood community, where, two, three, five mothers gather together. They're homogeneous in terms of, you know, their lifestyles, their, the age group of children, etc. And then we started working with these groups, and so we had three different models in the RCT of Odisha. One, large group, calling them into a center and talking to them periodically. And that frequency was, let's say, fortnight frequency. We were meeting them for half an hour and talking to them, explaining ideas, giving them some material, but in a large group meeting, like 25 people in the one room, and a teacher is talking to them. The second model was visiting each family and talking to them, giving them inputs, materials, and ideas. And the third one was this group of, let's say, three to five mothers uh, residing in a one community, and a group is formed. A leader is identified among within that group, and then every, let's say, fortnight or a weekly, Pratham instructor is visiting and, working with them for half an hour and doing some stuff activities and giving them material, showing them some videos, etc. Now, when we completed with this, we did a assessment, and we realized that, obviously, the large group meetings were less effective. There was a tough competition between individual input versus group meetings, and um, researchers had several points to share, but I think they have identified the importance of, this sharing, talking to each other, which was missing in the individual input. Although a Pratham person was talking to a single mother in the home, but this particular model of, engaging mothers in a smaller group was not only between Pratham people and a group, but there was a connection within that group, and there was a know-how within that group. So, one of my first-hand experiences, I was, Swati talked about Bihar, so I had spent a lot of time in Bihar. I still work in Bihar for several communities, and in that I visited one village, and a group of mothers was talking to each other, and our instructor was telling them something about health. And I entered, and you can imagine a man coming and then talking to a group of mothers. Little bit, it took little time, but since we could talk about very interesting topics, the point was, like, I asked them, what are your challenges? So one mother said, after a lot of uh, creating environment, one mother said that my big problem is my child don't eat properly. So whatever I, he likes potato, So unless until I cook potato, he will not eat. So now at that time, I also did not have a quick answer to that mother, because we always believe that we should have all the answers, because we bring the knowledge to the community. Uh, After a moment, I think the other mothers started responding to that and said that, why don't you cook different um, you know food items with aloo and without aloo and something like that. So that discussion become more vibrant when other mothers started suggesting her solutions. And I feel that was main a key point and key learning for us, that we are not the people who will always bring the knowledge to the community. There is a knowledge within them. It's a matter of creating a group or giving a platform, you know triggering it, and then helping them understand what is better. So that's the journey. And right now we have almost like across 10,000 villages, we have formed 40,000 groups. And in those groups, I think mothers are very confident. uh, Now, one more factor that I would like to highlight before you ask questions and we can further go into the details. I have some clips that Sarthak will definitely show you, so that uh, you feel that whatever I'm saying, not in the air, it's a reality. I met a mother.
Come here. So then I have to just come here and say, because I think so I can see the comments, and actually
Yeah.
Nandita ma'am has also written, but the food part, is so important,
Yeah.
because mothers feel that if the stomach is not full, then the brain does not work, and that is our basic Indian thing. Anna पेट में होना चाहिए,
uh,
Anna प्राशन. So the first major ceremony is basically food ceremony, then comes knowledge ceremony.
yeah.
So the connect with the mother, for her to also, sensitize, is so important. And it's not only at the grassroots level. Even if you go to the to whichever level of society you go
Yeah.
to in India,
That's a major concern.
the concern for food is so important.
Yeah.
That is the first, as you say, the basic needs have to get filled. So I think that
Absolutely.
is very important.
Absolutely, Swati. And I think, you can't skip that and go ahead. So, and there are many people who have said that, why you are only talking to mothers and why you are only choosing, the topics, those are, gender biased. But I think, really need to empower them, to help them understand that, there are many other players in the family that they can take help from. And there are certain things that the mother is required to know. And from variety of angle, why we are investing into mothers and why we are empowering them is crucial. And if we are talking about mothers, like what Swati has said, pointed out, they will not only talk about child's education. They will have worry about child's health, child's well-being, their social and emotional uh, points. So I think while we are, therefore in our whatever curriculum and content that we bring to the mothers, we focused on three basic things. We our mission statement for that is, healthy child, playful child, and learning child. Uh, why we say that? Because first of all the physical and motor skills developments are crucial. And therefore, and we all know that, first 8 years are how important. And therefore, the nutrition is also important, immunization is also important. So uh, no matter how much knowledge is there, um, if you talk to a, like, I'm also a father of a 5-year-old child. uh, After having so much access to the knowledge or information, if you ask me what kind of vaccination is required for a particular age, I still have certain confusions. I can easily go and track my card and see online, but not every father or mother are able to do that. So how can we create that hand-holding support at community level at different stages? For example, if a child is of 3-year-old, their needs are different than a children of, let's say, 6 year old. Having said all this, I think therefore we focus on the health, physical development of a child, and provide some tips, knowledge, connections in the community and system for physical development. Then second is obviously about all social emotional life skills. And third aspect we focus on the learning readiness, school readiness, etc. So the point taken is that the point should be noted is that if you want to engage with parents in the preschool or EC segment, you can't only be talking about readiness or learning and literacy and numeracy. You will have to think about many other aspects which are crucial and important for a mother or for parent and family. And therefore, the package is like that way. Sathak, you want to show some pictures and
Yeah.
a clip? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that would be a good idea. Before that, I'll just quickly just show a couple of slides just to summarize, I think, what Smithan said. He spoke about the journey very well. Just summarizing in terms of again how Pratham works in early childhood is we work very closely with the Anganwadi system. And as Smithan mentioned, we both support the Anganwadi teacher or volunteers inside the Anganwadi and improve the instructional material the entire instruction that goes to the children, ECE instruction in the Anganwadi. But apart from that, we really engage mothers through groups, both in and outside the Anganwadi, and as well as other stakeholders like community volunteers. And of course, when COVID came along, we invested. We already had digital resources available, but we were able to leverage that and really start reaching uh, mothers and children at home by sending them all our content remotely via SMS or WhatsApp. So just showing a couple of pictures how Pratham engages mothers. So calling them for meetings and participating with children in the Anganwadis with the doing activities in the Anganwadis. And then outside it, really, Pratham people going and supporting mothers groups meetings where they discuss activities that they can do with children in their homes. And along with these meetings, a concept that Pratham also pioneered is a school readiness mela, which is typically a community-wide event that happens right before the child enters grade one, as sort of a graduation ceremony for when they're done with their Anganwadi education. And a few more pictures of that here. It's a very interesting setup where it's a sort of fair where you have stalls for different developmental domains, physical domain, socio-emotional domain, language development, math development. A mother and a child come together and do activities together. There's a report card that's filled out and then so the parents know the mother knows how their child is doing on each of these domains and how ready they are for school. And this is also we see this generate a lot of interest in the community for early childhood education. I think this is broadly a summary. If Nathan, unless you want to add anything, otherwise I'll
No,
show
I
the
just wanted to highlight why this readiness mela and event is important. In India, we all know that we love to celebrate every moment, and we have therefore many festivals and rituals at different, in different geographies, you'll find different things that we do. Uh, if if a mother, when you come to know that a child is being conceived, then there are certain rituals, there are certain things. In Maharashtra, for example, after 3 months we celebrate it. We don't declare it before 3 months, but after 3 months we start sharing and all that. On seventh month or eighth month, we have a program where that we treat that pregnant mother as a special, and we feed, there is an event, okay, around it. Godbarai type, there are lots of names that people say. Uh, then, once the child is arrived, there are celebrations. Then there are name ceremony. Then, if you realize that, even in the urban population, first birthday is being celebrated, but soon as the child is getting older, the celebrations, the frequency of celebrations gets down. Here is what we realize, and we want to make sure, and we have added one more event into so many events, that if your child is going to a school officially, let's celebrate that moment. Let's celebrate that, and let's work with the child in the at the home, and help the child become school ready. And that if we can create that as a kind of a event, and celebrate as a something like that, so people follow the certain things. And therefore these mela idea, readiness melas, now it has been accepted and adopted by Nipun and FLN mission of India. So therefore I think replications will happen. But the core idea is to celebrate child's first steps in the school or in the anganwadi, something so in the education learning journey, the child is starting with a confidence. And therefore we in this mela we call mothers. There are certain counters where the child and mother is coming, and child is doing multiple activities. These are not assessment, but these are some kind of a fair idea where children are enjoying variety of things, and mother is watching, like whether, like for example, in one of the photos you can see a child is classifying onion, potatoes and tomatoes. For that child it's fun, okay, I'm doing something on the counter. But mother is being she's being oriented that see whether a child is able to arrange the leaves of, let's say, any tree in a size or in a sequence, okay. So there are certain items which are available, easily available in the surroundings, can be used for making sure that our children are ready for school or learning. Now the point that I want to make here is, we as educators or practitioners have always uh, you know given some, I have big issues when we talk about all early childhood educational terminologies. Look at them. For example, if you want to make sure that your children are ready, school ready, you will use terms called cognitive development, social emotional development. There are certain jargons that we use in early childhood education where people are in the common space, the real mother, the new literate parents are not, they don't understand these big terms. And therefore I think using simple language, making the term very simple, so that people understand it very clearly, they can contribute. As they understood, they will definitely contribute. For example, in our mela we can see that a volunteer is asking a child that what's your name. Child is not telling, but mother is saying that I know my child can tell the name, but he's hesitating and he's not telling you. So that's the point, that a volunteer or a teacher get the chance that yes, that's okay, it's obvious for his age, but ultimately now he's going to enter a school. So can you build a confidence of telling name to anyone? So there are certain things that parent can do at home without having a EC course. And that's how I think we should give ideas and tips to parents. And I can definitely tell you, based on our experience of working with these so many mothers group across country in different geographies, different contexts, they are keen. They want their children to become school ready. They want their children to perform better, and therefore they can also contribute. Only thing is that how we are communicating. For example, we don't communicate. I have seen many private schools with the board says parents are not allowed this beyond this point. If that's the mentality, I think we need to change. At least in the early years, we need to be open, accept, and more involve parent, and tell them the curriculum, the ideas. And therefore whatever you are teaching inside the class, inside the school, I think you have to communicate it to the parent, and then see the impact.
Smith, here I would like to add that sometimes we as teachers and what do you call administrators of early childcare, we feel if we get parents too involved, then they will only criticize, they will have nothing constructive to say. And these all mindsets sometimes do affect us. I don't know whether I'm right or wrong. And there is a clear demarcation of area. This is your area. This is my area. Do you think that also happens
That
and is a
happens. That's a
mindset?
human. I think that's a human tendency, Swati. It will take certain time to come with that. I'll give you one experience. We have distributed these cards. I think we could have showed it bigger ones because it says that in one of the first indicator is skipping. Can your child skip the rope? I was visiting one of the rural block in Maharashtra. It's a tribal belt, and I was in Anganwadi where our Anganwadi worker and a volunteer from the community they were playing with the children and they were having fun in the class. I was observing, and suddenly a mother came to this center, and I was curious because that mother had a report card in her hand, and she went to a teacher, and I could easily feel that the Anganwadi worker was like frustrated. It's like why she has come now when somebody has come from outside to visit my class. So she was already in that. So what I did, I just move away from that, and I was observing what happened. So mother pointed out that you have said, you have marked no or cross or whatever, you have said that my child can't my girl can't skip the rope. So Anganwadi worker said yes, because when I asked her, she didn't do it. So mother said okay. In the other hand, she had brought the rope, and she gave it to the girl and said, do it. The girl quickly did it, and the Anganwadi worker was like, okay, give me the card, I'll let me correct it. The point that I'm trying to tell you, Swati, is that what the point you raised, yes, the people will come and question, contribute if you open out your curriculum. And I think that's the point where we all need to understand that it's not only us. Okay, and therefore if it is like the whole community is required, you'll have to educate entire community, and therefore if they come in, they definitely will contribute, they will question, they will ask. You will need to guide them, you will need to instead of feeling that they are monitoring and tracking us and questioning us. I think they are. We should see that as a practitioner, that they are learning. They are also trying to help their children. So how can we cope with this as a teacher is very important. Yeah, and Rinky has put a good poll. Should we, as pre-primary class, children have a report card? Please answer in the poll while Sarthak is showing a short clip how we engage mothers. Yeah, and the point that Nandita is highlighting, I also would like to highlight that in our context, report card has something different meaning of it's an assessment card rather than a communication sheet. I think the more important point is that the parent and teacher should be able to discuss certain aspects, and that is crucial rather than therefore this putting your child is A grade or B grade has no meaning. We need to have clear cut, these are the things that your child is able to do, and these are the things that your child will need help. If the parents can understand this very clearly, I think that will be very useful rather than a report card that says 5 stars and grade, or which has nothing to do with being father or being mother will not be able to help. The report card or communication sheet should be that. Yes, Sarthak, please go ahead. Otherwise, I will not stop.
I'm just trying to share. It's not happening. Let me try again.
Okay. Interestingly, the poll that Rinki put about report card, 37% said yes, 25% said no, and 37% have said that some form of assessment is required. Obviously, to track the progress, to communicate with the parent, you will have to have some kind of observation, play based, activity based assessment where children don't feel stress is important, it's crucial, and yeah. Can we show a clip? Or,
Yeah.
yeah. And can you make it bigger? There is no voice.
1 second. Hmm. Yeah, I think we'll have to see it without voice.
Oh my god. Okay.
Website, not embedded in a PowerPoint, it usually plays the most. The
Okay.
PowerPoint is sometimes a factor. Would you like to
Yeah,
try?
but the video wasn't, I couldn't find the video window separately, so for some reason.
So you have to open it on your Chrome tab and then share it, or open your video and keep it minimized. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I can also try Sarthak.
Yeah,
Only thing is, we'll have to open it into Chrome. One second. I'm just trying. Ah, can I show? Can I display?
yeah, you should have a share screen option.
Ah, yes, I can. Okay. Can you all see my screen with video thing?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Okay. Let me try to.
yeah, I can hear also.
So I think you can see it from. I don't know. I'll have to stop screen share, right?
Yeah, you stopped.
I stop. Okay.
You stopped, yeah.
In my screen, I can. Okay. Okay. So basically, I think the point is that, like in our case, many mothers have left their education or schooling long ago, and with these children, they also get an opportunity to you know play, draw, and they themselves enjoy all this. And you all know how our uh, women in at home have multitasking and many things to do. So they are also in a stress, so they feel that these kind of activities are also helpful for them also. And once they understand that it's very simple to do, they will try at home. And you might have noticed that the material is also not so much of printed material. It's like material that can be accessed from surrounding. In your case, you can contextualize it. You can definitely work with your parents, but tell them, show them some ideas, work with them in the group. Instead of just conducting a meeting and discussions about negative points, if you start sharing simple ideas, how can you provide 5 minutes, 10 minutes to your children, how can you work with, like for example, we all know that telling a story to children will help. So, but if you talk to many parents and ask them whether they know stories, they will say, you can do a one kind of exercise in your parents' meeting, and you can ask parents, how many stories that they know. You will see that many people don't know the stories. So, how can you, facilitate and help parent uh, to tell stories? So can you provide some stories? Like nowadays you have lot of access to digital platforms, digital stories. You can use I can put you some links here. We have also created indigenous material which is available on pratham.org. You can go to 3 to 6 age group and download whatever you want. There are lots of stories, games, activities. Those are useful for parents, family members, teachers, uh, older siblings. Those are helping children. So we are trying to create content, digital content for adults around children, rather than creating content for children directly. We believe that it's important to have more and more indigenous content in different contexts, different languages, suitable to our context, uh, is available, and therefore we are putting all the resources in on this platform. And therefore I think I would definitely recommend to see that. But there are other platforms also where you can download and see. But start sharing something with the parents and take feedback, because you are different than a server talking to parent and a banking people talking to parent. You are teacher of my child, and you have sent me something, and that we have seen and realized during pandemic. Sarthak, you can show the screen where how we were engaging parents during lockdown. We were sharing WhatsApp content, SMS, etc. But rightly said in the chat, Swati, human connect is so important, and we are not just human; we are teachers of children, and therefore we have a different recognition in the family. And if you send something to family and do a follow up, people will definitely follow, parent will definitely follow, they will listen to your ideas, they will listen to your suggestions, because you are not, you know you're not calling from a call center, and who people don't know. So people know you, recognize you, and therefore that is important. And in one of the experiences where, if you're talking about the connectivity and digital connections, in Maharashtra and many places in the rural area, we have seen that 40% people have smartphones, and that too in the family, that too are with male candidates, not with mothers. But while during this pandemic, we have seen that many fathers have conveyed the tasks that we provided to children, to mothers and to other members in the family, if the message is being received by father. So that has also happened. On the screen you can see that we used to send material to group of mothers through kind of a idea material, idea card we call it, where ideas and activities are being mentioned. We can definitely would like to share that material with all of you if you want to engage with parents. But Having said this, it's important to have a direct connection, whether it is remote or in person, that does not affect. But if you don't connect, if you just send the message on WhatsApp and forget, I think nothing will happen. And if you want to show that slide below where you got the responses from children, yeah, this one, yeah, we used to send daily messages to parents in 10,000 communities, and we used to receive 100,000 and more video responses and photos from these 30 to
That's
40%
that's
families.
amazing,
That's very,
Smitten. But
and
uh,
yeah,
that's
just
amazing, Smitten. I will just give you 3 more minutes because we have the next session. I'm so sorry. This is so
no,
interesting,
no,
and I don't want you to wind up. But please
no, no,
do
I
so.
think
We have,
this is what I,
we can open it for questions for
yeah,
participants
yeah,
if they want to.
absolutely,
Thank
Yeah.
you.
yeah,
Just before we get to that, I like I would just want to just close our presentation on the note of just summarizing some of our learning. Right, I think through the journey that Smitten has described, we've covered most of it. But just to give a very brief summary in terms of what Pratham has learned from its years of working with mothers, particularly in this format of groups. So three broad areas, right? Like how to structure the engagement, how to interact with them, and how do you really think deeply about mothers when you're working with them. So, in terms of structure, what we've seen is groups work, small groups of 3 to 5 to 6 mothers work very well.
Switch on
For an,
your camera. Sarthak, can you switch on and switch off your camera because you're not on stage?
yeah.
Okay.
You'll have
okay.
to switch off. If you switch
Huh?
off, then people will see you. That's,
Oh,
yeah.
so this
Now
entire time, I think I
we
was
can see
okay.
you now. Yes, and you can please make it bigger because it's
Okay,
can't read it. Yeah. Thank
one
you.
second. Yeah, can you see it now?
Yes.
Yeah. So working in groups works has worked very well for a number of reasons. Mothers get there is a peer support networks that's made. If you know if a mother misses a group, she can catch up through the other mothers. I mean, there are a lot of more reasons which we don't have time for right now. Having an anchor mother to lead the group is something that is very important. Now, how this mother is anchor is identified, whether a Pratham person or a field person from an organization identifies them, whether the mothers elected themselves, that happens very differently. But the presence of this anchor to sort of guide all the activities is very important. Organizing demonstrations. So, in particularly in Pratham's case, in the education's case, it's about having mothers do activities at home with their children. So it's not just about giving them a booklet and saying these are the activities. Having that demonstration live, or at least through some sort of a video format, if we're doing a very scalable sort of model, so they can really understand what the activities is, something that is crucial in terms of just designing when we talk about the actual engagement. Having content, if we're giving them content, things that are very easy for them to understand, very pictorial. We have to keep in mind that particularly in when we go to more rural areas and more low income communities, the literacy among mothers is also not very high. So we can't give very content dense, text dense material, and you have to keep this sort of these aspects in mind. Then just having activities which are very simply done, not very time consuming. The Smithin described remote engagement, following up is something that is very important. And then an aspect that's been emerging in the last few years is just understanding how to think about mothers, right? Like we want mothers to work on their children's education, but mothers themselves have a lot of demands and a lot of they have their own desires. So understanding what we could do for them really sort of makes them more one with the group structure, with the entire intervention. They work more with their children. So these are things we are exploring now, whether it's digital literacy for mother, financial literacy, other aspects. This is something we're working on, but it's this is sort of a new area. And finally, yeah, just the events recognition of having the community event at certain milestones as a celebration. I think that really helps create that very vibrant atmosphere for learning in a community. So that's just a short summary. I
Yeah.
think we can open it up for questions now in the 2 minutes that we have.
Yeah. Hello, Purnima ji. He's also writing that leader mother is a very good idea. Absolutely right.
So I'll try and get. So Smithin and Sarthak, it's so interesting. And as you summed it up, it's not only not being an expert, being able to ask, being able to actually understand the psyche of the mother. And within the point you raised, that being a male and going and reaching out mothers, they must be thinking, how much does he know? So those points were so pertinent, and they came because you were actually in the field doing it. And I love the idea, as she said, of leader mother, connecting it to ground events, making it fun. And the pictures were so descriptive, and those activities that you did. But I think so. As nobody's posted a question, I would like to ask you, what was the most difficult part of transition during the COVID time? Because this was basically will to skill is one thing, but during the COVID time, you work with the grassroots people. How did you manage to bridge that gap? What was the beginning of it?
Yeah. So I think one is definitely, see, I will tell you from a two different perspective. One is because we had prior connections with these mothers group before pandemic. For us, it was very easy to reconnect them remotely. Okay. For example, we were having connection with, let's say, more than 25,000 mothers group before the COVID hit us, and we knew the numbers of those parents. Only thing that we started struggling with in the initial phase, that um, some people had access to smartphone and some were not. Since we started, I remember 18th March was the lockdown day. In within 1 week time, we could change our strategy. People uh, praise us because of that agility, but I would rather give the credit to that strong connection prior to the pandemic, because that was there. But when we were working with the government and systems where there had no prior connection with the parents, we were struggling a lot, because we had to ask them to somehow collect the phone numbers, collect the types of phones that parents have. So it took some time to figure out the mechanism. Secondly, what we did, uh, very soon, in by mid of April, we realized that in 2 weeks time, that we were reaching only to 30 to 40% parent because of this WhatsApp based business. Then we realized, oh no, this is not going to make sure that we are reaching to more people. And then we started using more old technology called SMS. People might have forgotten that technology. We started remembering that, and we started creating messages for those keypad phones. And surprisingly, we could reach another 35% parent. Still there were 15 to 20% parents whom we could not access, and there were parents who were migrated. There were parents did not have even simple phone. Then we started a program on radio. Okay, and we started reaching them through a radio program, through volunteers, and we appealed community youth volunteers. And it was excellent experience. I think in the history, we are not government, we are not nothing. Okay, but we appeal to the youth that come forward, be the mediator, and please circulate these tasks to children in your hamlet. You won't believe, within weeks time, in few districts we got 25,000 Google registration from youth. So that was a huge response, and I believe that in the pandemic people were struggling a lot on lots of fronts, but still they were thinking about their education of children. They were concerned about it. And I feel a lot of, I can tell you n number of experiences during that period, that how people were concerned. I was speaking to one of the sarpanch of a village in Chandrapur. He said
In
that,
Nagpur,
tell us,
yeah.
in
Hmm.
the Chandrapur district in Nagpur division, he said that, tell us ideas so that we can make sure that whatever you are circulating on radio and WhatsApp, we can also try to come in and do something. And I think it was an interesting, and that Sarpanch called me after 2 weeks and said that we have painted blackboards across villages. Whatever you are sending through SMS, we are writing on the board so that people can see. So there was so no matter whether there is no connectivity, radio program that we were circulating, stories that we were circulating, were being broadcasted and casted on loudspeakers in the temples. And and I'm not talking about one or two villages. It's like the loudspeaker is still being used no matter what other things are
I
happening with the
know
loudspeaker.
that.
But in 9 to
Noise quite.
10,000 villages in Maharashtra are still broadcasting every 3 day in a week that radio program. So lots of good things are happening, and we need to retain.
Amazing.
That's it. Yeah.
Amazing, Smitten and Sarthak. I wish we could continue, but time, time doesn't stop. It keeps going. And like Albert Einstein said, time is relative. But in this case, sometimes it runs too fast. You can't catch up with it. But Smitten and Sarthak, thank you for sharing. Your ideas were amazing. Connecting it to melas, taking, understanding the psyche, building up program, building bridges, and also building in the point that if you don't have a human connection, if you don't get technology in, so it was not about only human connection, it was also having all the right information. As Nandita ma'am said, having the vision that you need to have WhatsApp communication, truly commendable. And I thank you very much for joining in to do this workshop. But I would also love to see your work, a case study of this being developed for everybody to have a look, so everybody can actually gain what you did right. And I think that's what India needs to reach to the grassroots level. From AECD and Mobile Crash, I take this opportunity to thank you for sharing your knowledge, your skill, and your time. And it is a pleasure to knowing you. And I hope we continue to interact, collaborate, and learn from each other.
Thank you
Thank you
very much,
very much.
Swati.
Rinki, uh, Smitten, yes, please.
No, I was saying thank you very much, and ACD, we have a long connection. Purnima ji, thank you very much, and many other people who are part of all this. I've attended some sessions also. So interesting exercise. New platform. Thank you. We are not using Zoom and other platforms, so it's a new energy. So thank you very much. Thank you, Swati, for good
Thank
questions and pointing. Yeah.
Okay. And to all our participants here and attendees, please don't go away. We still, and Smitten and Sarthak, I too invite you to join our closing session.
Sure.
And it's very interesting. We have Shanta Sinha and speaking, and summing up the sessions. So please don't go away. All the attendees, leave the session, but do not leave the platform, as Smitten said. A nice platform, though we had a few technical glitches in the
Oh,
beginning,
it's okay.
but we have to live with them because our network is also not so strong. A pleasure. Rinki, may I request you to now wind up, stop the live, and Smitten and